Hey, good morning, everybody.
Welcome to ShortSalePowerHour.com. I'm your host, Kevin Kaufman.
Well, today's episode is not sponsored by Diet Mountain Dew. Did they not send us a check yesterday?
They did not re-up for today's episode.
That's unfortunate.
Okay. Kevin Kaufman. It's Fred Weaver. We're Group 4610, Arizona's premier. That's with an E at the end.
Okay.
Short sale team. And this is ShortSalePowerHour.com.
Yeah, and Kevin, what are we going to talk about today? No, I'm just kidding.
You're the one that had all today's topic all planned out, buddy.
So actually, Kevin, I want to talk about a really cool conversation that we had last week. You and I both had the opportunity to get on the phone with an awesome woman by the name of JK who works for Wells Fargo.
JK is amazing.
And we've mentioned her here on the show before. JK is actually the head of all short sale REO and I guess you'd call it deed in lieu, Loss Mit at Wells Fargo.
I'd call her the big chief, the BMOC.
The BMOC. Okay.
BWOC.
All right. So we learned a lot in that conversation last week, and I thought it would be a great opportunity here in this episode. You and I don't have our notes in front of us from that conversation, but I know that we recall enough of it. Let's share with you guys some things. So I want to start with the first one here, which is Fannie Mae's new piloted program. We mentioned on an episode on last week that we were working a file with Wells Fargo where we were told limited documentation might be needed if the borrower's FICO was below a certain score.
Yeah, and actually here, I actually want to give a little more background for that particular one.
I thought we should.
Major props to Wells Fargo for even spearheading something like this.
And to JK specifically.
Because JK talked about doing some of these things on their own portfolio first. So some of these things that were these new programs that we're starting to see where they have actually gone. I mean, and when I say they, I mean Wells Fargo executives have gone to Fannie Mae and said, hey, here's something that's working for us. Let's try it on your portfolio that we're servicing. Mm-hmm. And they've gotten them to do that. And I know Freddie Mac's right around the corner because if Fannie Mae is doing it, you know Freddie Mac's coming right behind them. So big props, first of all, to JK and the team at Wells Fargo to come up with a solution that gets things done faster, quicker, more efficiently, and then sharing it with others. She mentioned they only service of all the loans that they service, only about 20% of them are owned by Wells Fargo. Mm-hmm. The rest are owned by outside investors. Mm-hmm. And so they've got to go out there and massively influence a lot of investors, a lot of companies to be able to get them to do things more efficiently.
Yeah. So what she shared with us, JK did, she shared with us that people in the industry, investors in the industry, were coming to Wells Fargo saying, this portfolio of loans you have, these Wachovia loans and these former...
you want to know the other company?
Yeah, help me with the other company. I'm going to blank on it.
World
Savings. Sorry. So these World Savings and Wachovia loans, we see that you guys are closing an abnormally large amount of them compared to other portfolios in the industry.
And you're doing it very quickly.
You're doing it efficiently and you're closing more. What's going on? And so JK and her team essentially said, well, it's because we're requiring less documentation. Literally, it's limited documentation to do these short sales. They meet a certain criteria, we can process them quicker because we're not having to collect all these updated statements and ask for all these things that get lost and homeowners don't provide, and then go ahead and look through all these documents. So what she proposed was that Fannie Mae would put together a pilot program where they would test it, that if a borrower had a FICO below a certain amount, basically I believe the number was 560. The borrower had a FICO below 560. Is that the number?
I thought it was 550, but it doesn't answer.
Okay, so in the mid 500 range or less, that they would pilot this program where limited documents would be needed. Essentially, somebody's not just missing their mortgage payment, which means they're likely not just strategically defaulting. They've missed multiple payments from credit cards to cars to mortgages, and they've proven that they're not in a good place as far as their overall bills. So based on this FICO, we're going to go ahead and require less documentation. Now, she would not give us the exact details, meaning she said, obviously there's
a lot of stuff.
That's private information I can't share. She said, but the mid FICO's in the 550, 560 range. She said that it's a 90-day pilot program and it just started within the past couple of weeks, so it's got some more time on it. And her belief and hope is that Fannie Mae will find success in the program, that it will work, and that other investors will then pick up this program. And so I'm right on board with that.
Heck yeah.
I'm right on board with
I think that's amazing. It's such a great idea, and if we can get Fannie and Freddie, and I would suggest, not that JK, if you're watching, that's awesome that you're taking time out of your day to watch this, but I want to suggest, well, why not even upping that credit score a little bit? Let's make those guidelines a little bit looser.
Sure.
I was talking to somebody last night, and he asked the same question actually about why is it that Wells Fargo / Wachovia does this so much better. and for lack of a more clear and detailed explanation, it's looser guidelines, looser restrictions almost, if you will. And when you do that, you and I have been saying this for years, if you can just loosen up your grasp on everything, loosen up the guidelines, and maybe take a little bit less but you do a way more volume, you'll save a heck of a lot more money.
Well, not only is it collecting less documents, but the investor's giving them delegated authority, which we teach in our class. I'm not going to go into a deep thing here, so if you don't know what that means, you need to go find out. But the investor's giving them delegated authority, which means they don't have to submit the file over to the investor for review and all that. They're basically saying if it meets this criteria, great. That's what a loan servicer wants. I can only imagine a loan servicer understands the delays and the man hours that it takes to submit a file to the investor, wait for it to come back, potentially have to go back and forth through this channel. And so to be able to create more programs where there's delegated authority and less documentation is win-win.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that was part one of our conversation, and we learned a lot more that we're going to share with you in tomorrow's episode, but we're going to make you come on back for tomorrow's episode. That's a nice way to do it, right?
On 3.
1, 2, 3. Short sale power hour! Short sale power hour! Crush it!